Absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Oh, that way? Okay. Thanks. Thanks. All right, counting down. Does everybody get a piece of paper on the judge? Those have been handed out? Everybody got one coming in? No? You didn't get one? Okay. I'm waiting for my official to say I can start. Okay. Do you have extra? Some people didn't get ballots. We want to make sure they're handed out.
Can we?
Who doesn't have a ballot? Please raise your hand. Could you pass those out?
Okay.
Pretty please. Okay, great. Well, why don't we get started? First of all, thank you very much for coming. Hopefully, this morning you've learned a lot and you're going to have a great understanding of what these entrepreneurs are doing. My name's Mark Birch. I've been an angel investor for seems like the last decade or so. Also run a small company. And then you're actually all paying my salary. I'm actually working part-time for a Department of Homeland Security. So please make more money. I need a raise, so I'd like that. I appreciate that very much. We got a great two panelists. So these are going to have to be even more brilliant since Steve hasn't come up yet. We'll introduce in a minute. So the way it works is all cell phones off, please. You know, you've heard that drill before. Each of you have a little pamphlet. There's 5 companies that we're going to present. What we'd like you to do is pick the best one out of the 5 that you think will be successful. So that's really important. So you're part of this. So please participate in that. And also with that in mind, each company's going to have 6 minutes to present. And then there's 4 minutes for the judges to ask questions. So, and if they don't ask brilliant questions, then we can actually take questions from the audience too. So with that, what I'd like to do first is our distinguished VCs and angels, and David, $500,000 from Ireland from potentially one of these 5 companies. So this man does have, and that's, I tried to get 500 euros for you, but he said, you know, that'd be about 1.2 million. So I think you're only going to do 500,000 US dollars. But in all seriousness, they are looking for companies that they have funding. So with that, maybe David, you could talk, and then I'll introduce Chris, please.
Sure. David Smith here, Senior VP for Telecoms and Wireless here in Enterprise Ireland, based in Mountain View. Our role is to help Irish companies do business here. So we're here doing strategic market, business development, market investigation, partnership work for Irish companies. Back home in Ireland, we're also helping those companies grow and develop, and we're also the VC arm of the Irish government. Last year, we did 94 new first-time equity investments into Irish-based companies. We putting in about $300,000 to $500,000 at an early angel stage into those companies. So if any companies are looking at setting up their head office operations in Ireland, putting substantive operations in Ireland, we're here to talk to them about supporting them, coming over, and possibly funding them as well. And just to say, if you're interested in learning more about what we're doing or any of our clients, again, come and talk to us. We're just outside with the stand out in the main reception area, I suppose. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, David. And then I know, Chris, you're going to want to top, what, $1 million? From an angel perspective? You got to top Ireland now. I mean, come on, you're in Silicon Valley.
I'm just
Tell
one
them
man.
who you are.
I'm
Tell
just
them who
one
you
man.
are,
Ireland
please.
is an entire country. So I'm Chris Ye. I'm an angel investor. I've also, as David was noting earlier, the VP of marketing for PVwizard, which is a company many of you may have used the products of. I've been in Silicon Valley since the year 2000, although I like to date my involvement in the Valley back to when I came to Stanford as an undergrad, far too many years ago. I'm very interested in companies that are serving specific business needs, so I feel like there's a lot of love and a lot of attention for consumer internet these days, but gosh darn it, there's a lot of companies out there that are solving problems for companies that will actually pay them money, and so I like those a lot. Just in general, really looking forward to the discussion today. I will do my best to ask very keen questions. Don't boo me if I do. One final note, for those of you who are starting your own companies out there, PVWorks recently announced that we're making our product free for people with 20 employees or less. So if you want to use our products, you can now go to pvworks.com, sign up today, and it's free for you and free for your company.
And he has also a book you're also promoting today, are you?
Oh, I'm promoting Steve Blank's book. It's an excellent book. Hopefully you guys got a copy of it this morning.
He will sell it to you, though. Yeah. So with that, why don't we get started with our first presenter? So Wattminder is going to have, Steve is going to come up, and if you can introduce yourself and your company, that would be great. They're energy monitor, so it's kind of an interesting play along the energy side, and there is a benefit for all of you. So with that, I'll let you take over, please.
Hi, I'm the founder of Wattminder. I'm also known as PVwizard. I am a devotee to solar power. Over the past few years, our team, our strong and diverse team, has been building a platform to solve a $5 billion problem. I'm sorry, I'd like to share with you today our proud creation through these years' effort, and what's also in the works and what it means to you. Did you know that there were $5 billion worth of electricity that evaporated as heat into thin air last year because of some fault in solar array? And we are trying to building a solution to solve that problem. I'm sorry. So things happen to solar array. Bird poops, rain, wind, and dust everywhere. They all do bad things to your solar array and causing underperformance. The utility industry has very sophisticated tools, production processes and tools, yet they have nothing for solar. They have no equivalent tool for solar power generation. By leveraging the power of mathematics with models that include fault sources, our strong team has built a platform that will detect promptly problems in a solar array and arrive at the most likely cause for this underperformance, and also give instruction on remedying the situation. I'm introducing the world's first analytical on-demand performance analytics for solar array with 3 functions: benchmark calculator, performance checkup, and degradation assessment due to aging. So these functions are in open beta right now. It's available on demand 24/7, and we're also building smartphone apps to facilitate the user interface and to capture more eyeballs. Operation and maintenance has been the ignored segment of the industry, and it also eluded many practitioners and the media. We are doing something about this with our solution platform. So our services stop waves, and it pays back for itself quickly, and it achieves thanks to a very low cost of implementation in hardware and a strong, powerful analytical engine software. We have patent-pending analytics and actionable diagnostic, and our value proposition have been validated by 3 government grants. Our fault algorithm delivers diagnosis in 6 seconds. Our value proposition has been validated, and only a handful of our competition are beginning to talk about analytics and diagnostics. For instance, Locus Energy, they have just recently put out an ad for data scientists and server-side software engineers. We believe we are 3 years ahead of. Our data streamer works with robust data link, supervisory controllers, and robotics weather agent, and feeding data constantly to our analytical engine in the cloud. So our business model is a freemium model, 1% for setup fee and 1% of revenue for the service. It's like an insurance policy on energy production for solar array. And here's our roadmap. We have a complex irradiance sensor that will capture sun's energy at a solar site precisely, allow us for more precise analytics. In summary, we do the math. We keep you abreast of the status of your array, and we decimate underperformance. Thank you. Yeah, I'm ready for your questions.
Okay, first question. So it's interesting because to me, and we'll see an interesting contrast later on, because it's really about monitoring and being able to remedy problems, and we see that in the IT industry. I don't think we've seen it in the solar industry to date, and I think you've made a compelling argument for why it actually is very important. I guess the first question I have is, what do the solar energy providers or the big consumers of solar energy do right now? So the people who are operating large arrays of photovoltaics, not sort of residential ones, but the commercial power generation ones, what do they do to detect faults and remedy them today?
One thing they have done is they dictated that every project will have monitoring, and this is a very typical solar operation center setup. So you have people staring at wall of screens and trying to figure out if everything's okay.
And do they the problem? I mean, I assume the problem is that because the sun's strength varies, they can't necessarily tell if a drop in electrical current is the result of a problem or the result of a cloud.
Exactly.
So your product does this, analyzes data beyond just the flow of electricity. What data does it take in?
Yes, one of our grant, we are developing a demonstration diagnostic, web-based diagnostic using current sensors. Because electrically one can deduce through changes, minute changes in the current signal, what might be happening in the solar array. So we have a mathematician from Carnegie Mellon University in Silicon Valley working on this. In August, we will be demonstrating this online.
I know you're proposing remedies. What happens then in terms of, are you involved in terms of getting the remedy fixed, or are you involved in just the diagnostics of the remedy?
Our strategy is we team up with local maintenance contractors.
Okay.
So we provide information, alerts, and instructions to the local contractor of problems, and they will go to the site and fix it.
What's the revenue model again? You said it's 1% of installation, or what?
1% of system cost for sensors, instrumentation, and web interface, and 1% of revenue flow for service fee. So it's like an insurance policy. So on the average, there are about 15% of underperformance. So with our program, they will be able to recoup much of that. Except for dust, because dust is everywhere, and washing it costs money, so you have to decide how often. So the best policy is to do the optimal compromise.
It seems like the model that you're following is going to primarily focus on sort of larger sites, right? A single house is not, it doesn't make much sense for you to go through that trouble. So that means that the go-to-market does become very important. What does your current pipeline look like? You're saying that in 2014, for example, you have 12 client sites. How many sites are there out there of sufficient size, and what are the steps you're taking in order to bring them on board as customers?
There are over 300,000 solar arrays in the world, and only about 50 are being monitored by any organization. Our methodology works either through human, the homeowner can enter the data, including the readout from the power meter, and we can run our algorithm. So our algorithm engine can crunch anybody's data. That is our advantage.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. Really appreciate that. Thank you. So our next company, interesting enough, is one that I reviewed ahead of time, and they paid me a lot of money to say this. So they actually won a $100,000 Citric award. So with that, Colin would like to come up. They're called Appensure, and he's promised me this is going to be the best presentation of all time. Is that correct?
I'm just coming for my pat down first.
Okay, good. And with that, our judges are ready. You guys ready? The audience ready? Everybody ready? Okay. Take it away, please.
Thank you. Hi, Colin McNabb from Appensure. And what we do is ensuring applications performance of enterprise apps as they move into virtualized data centers and into the cloud. And thank you for that nice little dig. We did win the 100K prize at the Citrix Award and also the Jumpstart Days recently as well. So the opportunity here is, as the world starts moving into virtualized and into the cloud, the problem is the way we manage this stuff still reflects what we used to do when we owned equipment and ran on it. And the results, outages, problems, slow. You know when you're buying something and you press the buy button, the little thing twirls round and round and round, and you're left wondering, did I buy it? Did I not buy it? If I press it again, will it go twice? That's the performance problems that we see happening. So what we're doing today is changing that. We're redoing how we monitor and measure all of this stuff and manage it. We're giving a unified applications view of all of this stuff, not silos. We're doing it in real time. We're delivering correlated answers, real root cause analysis, and giving a unified view that tells management what to do to resolve it. And with that, we automate the cloud, we get rid of the outages, and we reduce the CapEx and OpEx. So let me show the classic problem today. So the app owner, usually the business guy making money, starts to see his app dissolve. He calls in, and today they can't see anything. It's virtualized. So what they do is they bring out a help desk ticket, and once you've lost enough money or time, the CIO gets involved. He then pulls his team in, and all the guys come together, and they universally prove that it's not their stuff. They're clear. This is what the CIAs love to call blame storming. And the key thing here is mean time to innocence. Can I get out of the room having proven that it was not my fault? Unfortunately, this does not solve the problem for the app owner or the CIO. And what we're really facing is a structural way of doing this that doesn't work anymore with virtualization. And as we move to the cloud, you get even less visibility. And as everyone eventually moves to utility computing, it's going to affect everybody. So why do we think we can do this? Well, I've done a few before. This is now my sixth startup. And got one IPO and 3 M&As. But most importantly, the team, Sri Chiganti and his team, ran a consulting business resolving these problems for people for 15 years. And with that team we still got in Hyderabad, average duration of almost 10 years for them. That is the ability that allows us to, having delivered 250 man-years of code into the field that we know works and is absolutely robust at over 100 customers, that's why we know we can really take this code and turn it into a real product and scale the company. And we have a great advisory board team, people who've really done an awful lot of this work, who understand how to do it. Bernd is really the go-to guy for performance, and Jeff Arnold's the guy who actually developed most of Amazon Web Services internal. So what happens today? On the left, you see a lot of great companies delivering tools, and then others providing the infrastructure platforms. But the problem is there are all these silos. And every single one of these tools and silos spits out dashboards, as many as 40 to 60 in your average space. Then the poor guys behind it have got to try and correlate it as things start to flash red, while being yelled at by the app owners who all want to know, what do we put into the big tool to make this work? And they use the miracle of email, therefore ensuring that it'll all go down long before you've managed to work out what the problem is. So what are we doing? First of all, don't change the architecture in any way because nobody will do anything until you've proven it to them. Then our tool sits in front, and we sit beside the application looking at all its communication at line speed with everything it touches, layer 2 to layer 7. That is how we do unified actionable intelligence, pull it together, correlate it, authenticate it, and deliver in real time in microseconds to the management a single view of what the problem is and what the answer is that you now put into the tool to manage this. And you see also a lot of the other tools start to disappear after that. You don't need them once you have this capability. Most people want to get away from 40 to 60 tools. So today we're about 85% complete. We're dropping our first products in beta in September. Our first target is the app's operations people. They have no visibility. So we have a virtual appliance and a software appliance for them. And then the next after that is with that we can then start addressing the IT ops. They need scalability. So they don't going to pull down 1,000 different licenses. So there we offer multi-port commodity hardware going up to 48 ports, at which point 2 of these boxes would run a multi-thousand server environment. And selling the first as freemium and as subscription, SaaS model, and second as appliances. And once we have all of this, we eventually get to workload orchestration, where now people can move their computing workloads between different clouds based on availability, cost, and performance without having to go through an 18-month reintegration cycle because they can see how the app is performing in real time. So why can we do this? Lots of people in the space, everybody looking at it, lots of smart people. Well, the key thing is, when you look at the stacks and how they work and run together, then what we see is there's a gap between them, and in that gap is the problem space. And when that goes wrong, all the smart guys in applications never seem to be able to work out with all the smart guys in infrastructure. That's when they call in the consultants. And that's our opportunity. We're delivering against that. Integrating it all, pulling it together, giving line rate, predictive analysis, and actionable intelligence. And this is a big market. We're looking at a $5 billion market that's growing to $7 billion in the course of the next 3 years. Most importantly, as many apps go into virtualized production, what we're seeing is this change. 250% growth in application performance tools for people that move into the cloud. In other words, as they create their own enterprises virtualized, they need so much more to manage it. That's really the driving opportunity behind this. And you can see this directly in the VMware customers. So, Appensure, find it, fix it fast, get rid of those problems. And with that, I'll ask for some questions. Thank you.
I have a question. One of the things you mentioned is virtualization and cloud environments. Virtualization, I can see, because you still have physical hardware, you're still able to stand in the way and actually capture the packets and see what's going on there. How do you deal with applications which have been loaded up into Amazon Web Services, EC2, S3? Presumably there's no way for you to gather packet level information there, right? Because the communications are not going through your data center, they're all taking place within Amazon.
That's where the virtual part comes in, because we actually drop the virtual appliance in beside the application in the virtual container. So every time it's instantiated, it builds the database and it can see what's happening, where the problems are. Then communicating back to Central and to our back end in the SaaS service, we can effectively show what's happening. And it's not possible for Amazon to stop this happening. The only way we can do it is cut off access to the application, which obviously they're not going to do.
Right.
And we are multi-tenanted because we're only looking at the app. We're not in the infrastructure fooling around looking at everybody's data. We're sitting with the application from the pure perspective of how does the app see the world? Because that blame storming thing, it really happens. Because the people in the infrastructure don't see how the app sees them. It's like calling Texas and saying, how's the weather? Oh, it sucks. Well, my weather's lovely. It really doesn't matter. You're really interested in what's happening locally to you.
In terms of, obviously you're going to come out with some great analytics, as you said, about performance. You see yourself becoming, say, like a ComScore or something like that, where you're putting out weekly or monthly results to say, this application, Amazon EC2, is working best today, or all the way down to, if you've got your stuff stored in Seattle, you're having a crap time, why don't you move it over to somewhere else? Do you see yourself?
What we're really trying to do is give the owner of the application or the environment the ability to do that. It doesn't stop us going down that path. It's quite a different business to be in ComScore and Nielsen than looking at how do I aid the applications people to know why the performance is down, or how do I aid the IT people to resolve issues very rapidly before they escalate into complete outages.
But you're also coming up with nice stuff in terms of when the same person you're selling this to is making his decision as to what to do with a new our new application or new installation to say it's surely helping them. On
Oh,
the back
absolutely.
end. Yeah.
You'd be amazed today when people build big multi-billion-dollar data centers. When you ask them the question, so how did you decide what size it ought to be and what's your scaling plan? They don't really have good answers for you. And the thing is, you have to monitor everything that's happening because it's your applications that drive it. Mm. And that's not really happening today. With this tool, you can actually start to become much more proactive about saying, what are my scalability plans? What are they going to look like? How do I deal with the elasticity? And actually know it rather than try and be a really good guy at guessing it because I've been in the business for 10 years.
What level of overhead does your monitoring impose? I mean, that's always one of the big questions in the field of systems management. How much overhead is imposed by having the additional data being transmitted back and forth? Because especially in a cloud environment, you're actually paying for that data.
Yeah, there's very little actual data comes out of it. We decimate the data quite dramatically at the point of impact because we're opening every packet. What we're interested in is conversational information out of the payload as well as in the header. From that, we build a local database. So that database uses very little support around it, and it's only when things go wrong. And our analysis shows that it's 0.1% of the data traffic at wrong points that we will affect, not anything really significant. So it's not an agented product. We actually sit as a bump on the wire, effectively. We're right beside the app. We're listening. Yep. It doesn't go through us. We're not in a situation where if somebody pulls a plug out accidentally, we are the point of failure. Right. We can't fail it. What we can do is just build that. And it's only when things go wrong that you start to have the ability. And as you're passing information back from a public cloud or monitoring it in your own environments, then you have all of the logs there to do the cross-correlation and be able to deliver root cause analysis and actionable intelligence as the thing's collapsing around you.
Great. Thank you very much, Colin.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I know the audience wants to know, that 100,000, what kind of car did you buy with it? Because I'm sure you didn't use it on the company, right? It was a gift.
My fleet of Ferraris.
You got it, okay. So that's for, if you want a yacht, there it is. So Lisa's coming up next, and Lisa is in the clean fuel. So she appealed to my Catholic guilt from my mom on why I should care about clean fuel. Isn't that correct? You pushed me really hard on that.
Right,
and if you want to follow these, she's going to be on page 22 if you're interested, just in the booklet, since they spent millions of dollars, and probably none of you have opened and looked at this. Is that correct? All right, except for Bill. With that, please, Lisa, take it away.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So I'm Lisa Dyson, CEO of Kiverdi. And at Kiverdi, we are making sustainability profitable. And we're doing that by converting low-cost waste into high-value oils and chemicals. So did you know that palm oil is used in over 50% of consumer goods products, from lotions to soaps to deodorants and detergents? So everyone in here has used palm oil today, hopefully several times. But there's a problem. And the problem is that with our ever-increasing desire for these products, over 45 billion kilograms of palm oil are produced every year, and there's been an increase in destroying rainforests in order to make room for new palm plantations. So this is something that impacts carbon dioxide. There's CO2 that's emitted when you destroy rainforests, loss of habitat, and you're getting rid of a CO2 sink. And companies are starting to act. They've changed their purchasing patterns. They've canceled contracts and have partnered and collaborated to pursue sustainable palm oil production. So there's another problem, and that problem is related to the price. Huge price volatility associated with palm oil and palm kernel oil. 2 price spikes over the last 3 years. This is something that impacts a chemical company's bottom line. It impacts their ability to predict their future cost structure and something that they want a solution for. So at Kiverdi, we asked, is there a better way? And our answer was yes, a resounding yes. As it turns out, we all know there's a lot of waste that's generated in the world. And this waste is rich in carbon, rich in energy. And so we set out to develop a technology that could use waste as an input and convert that waste into oils that could replace palm oil. So we developed a proprietary biological process that converts waste carbon inputs, whether it's landfill waste, municipal solid waste, manufacturing waste, into oil, using microbes and a proprietary bioreactor technology. So our process is faster than your typical way of making palm oil, taking hours instead of months to produce. Our process is lower in costs. We use waste as an input and have low-cost operations. It's kind of like brewing oil, basically. It's a fermentation process. And finally, it's actually better. not only can we make palm oil, but we can make palm kernel oil, we can make other oils, and those even higher value chemicals that can replace petrochemicals as well. So we're producing oils today. We've demonstrated high oil productivity, and we've operated at the pilot scale, and we're rapidly scaling our technology. Our deployment strategy is to have small-scale plants that are co-located with manufacturing facilities and other waste generation sources so that we can have a low CapEx deployment versus having really large-scale plants that cost lots of money. So this enables a really high-margin deployment of our technology. So the economics around our modules are very attractive, with payback periods of months for some of the products that we can make. So our business model is really a partnering business model. So partnering with both feedstock providers, the waste generators, to target specific waste inputs and convert those into value, and also partnering with chemical companies to target specific molecules. In some cases, they're looking for sustainability, they're looking for lower costs. In other cases, they're looking for higher performance molecules. And so that's our partnering strategy for our business model. So we believe that we've put together a great team. Myself and Dr. John Reed founded the company. We know each other from our days pursuing doctoral degrees at MIT. I went on to the Boston Consulting Group and did a number of other things. We have a former CFO from Gap Inc. Direct on our team. We also have people with experience from DuPont, Clorox, Procter & Gamble, a lot of the companies that we will target and provide solutions for. So we've been developing IP on this technology since 2008. We have a strong technology development partnership with the Lawrence Berkeley National Labs, and they actually co-own or co-develop some of our IP, although we own it. In addition, we raised our Series A round last year. We've received money from the California Energy Commission as well, and in-kind funding from the Lawrence Berkeley National Labs. And in terms of the awards, I'll just highlight that most recently we won an Edison Award, so it was really nice to be linked to Thomas Edison. So we are deploying our technology now. Our first conversion modules will take manufacturing from biodiesel waste or oleochemical waste. It's a glycerol as the input. It's a dirty, there's methanol and salts and other things in there that make it not a good product ultimately, but for us, it's perfect for our microbes to use, and we're converting that into oils for specialty chemicals. And so we're scaling our technology now to deploy these plants, our first one next year. We're calling it our Trailblazer unit. So we're making sustainability profitable as we deploy these plants. We are actively looking for partners, feedstock partners, chemical companies, as well as financial partners. Thank you.
When we think about this market, and we look at the global market for plant-based oils, I see the summary there. What ends up being the limiting factor for the company? Is it the consumers of the product, or is it the amount of feedstock that's available? Which is the ultimate limiting factor?
So the market for plant-based oils is 150 billion kilograms a year. So the limitation would be feedstock, but that's the beauty of our product. We're able to convert a variety of different feedstocks into oils and chemicals. So we can take the gas that's emitted from landfills, the actual landfill waste itself. We can take agricultural residue, manufacturing waste. There's a plethora of places where you have carbon-rich inputs that we can convert into oil, high-value oil outputs.
Given that it's such a short payback, it would seem to be obviously something that would nearly sell itself. So what's your pipeline looking for in the next 12 to 18 months then?
And by pipeline?
In terms of customers and customer sign-up. I know you're
Yes.
just coming out of beta, so that's a hard question. But
yeah, well, we're actively deploying our site. So we'll go into engineering designs this year. We have a short list of sites that we've selected to deploy the first plant. We're finalizing partnerships for both feedstock supply as well as offtake, and we're talking to investors to fund it.
Talk to me a little bit about your competitors in the sense of there's two different areas of competition. One is in terms of selling to the CPG people who are actually consuming this, and the other is in terms of working with the feedstock providers. Are the competitors that you list competing for those same markets? I know like Sapphire, for example, is very different, probably wouldn't be competing with you on either of those.
So in terms of competitors, we make lipids. Lipids can be used to replace petrochemicals, can be used to replace oleochemicals from oils. Our current competitors would be agricultural companies or petrochemical companies. But in terms of the emerging companies that would have a biological process as well, typically these companies use sugar as an input. So if you're talking about Amyris or Solozyme, they typically have a fermentation process that uses sugar. That impacts your cost structure. Right. So using waste lowers your operating costs, your OpEx. Our core microbes are actually natural, whereas in many cases the core microbes are highly engineered, which means a longer time to market. And then finally, our deployment strategy is really not to go after $100 million plants, but instead to go after small-scale plants that are co-located with refining or manufacturing facilities to have a lower cost deployment, lower CapEx deployment for the plants.
Are you selling to the likes of municipalities in terms of diverting land waste, or in terms of manufacturing companies who have have waste product then that they need to convert it into something profitable?
Yeah, well, our business model is to have joint venture relationships for oil manufacturing, so we would ultimately sell to the chemical companies. Our partners would be municipalities or waste generators, and so we would have long-term contracts with them to take off their waste, have offtake agreements for their waste, and then our customers would be the chemical companies that are buying it and making lotions and soaps, et cetera.
Just out of curiosity, for the people that you're helping with the people who are providing the feedstock, are you able to actually get them to pay you in addition to take the feedstock from them, or do you actually have to still pay them?
There are absolutely cases where it's currently a cost for these companies to either send it to a municipal solid waste facility or to treat the waste. So there are cases like that. Broadly speaking, that's not what we're assuming or going after or targeting, although those are that would obviously be the lowest hanging fruit.
Gotcha. What kind of funding are you looking at in the next round, or what kind of funding do you need?
Well, I'll talk about the modules. So the first module that we're going to deploy is a $3.5 million module. Part of that could be project financing. Part of that could be investors. And we have larger modules that we'll deploy after that. The first one is a 2 million kilogram a year plant. The next one will be 10 million kilograms a year.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You were supposed to make them feel really guilty if they're so she wants you to look at all the products you're using now, read the labels, call Lisa, personally ask her, is this one that's not going to be clean? Is that correct? Okay, excellent. Thank you. With that, introduce Gary, correct?
Yes.
And one of the things that's interesting that he was talking about is if you're going to go on vacation, we want to make sure on the risk assessment of where you might be going, take a look ahead on his product. It's a software as a service model, and then make sure if you want to go there or not. Is that pretty much the answer?
That's one of the uses right there.
Okay, take over, please.
All right, so let's talk about disasters, shall we? When you go into the Apple Store, AT&T store, they're like, well, we don't have a shipment in this week, maybe next week, maybe the week after. Where are your products, and why are your products not getting to you? One of the main reasons, or one of the reasons, is supply chain risk. So there's risk everywhere, every day, you name it, there's something blowing up around the world right now. And if you're the guy or woman managing that supply chain, you are really worried about what you can do. How do you figure out what's going on? So this guy, he's in for a bad day anytime one of these major disasters occurs. So in the supply chain, risk occurs everywhere at different points of location, from where you source your material to where you deliver it, to where you store it. And how do companies manage this risk today? It's a very manual process. Let's call someone. Let's email someone a form. Let's send out a spreadsheet that we have to get data back from 1,000 vendors. It's a very manual, inefficient process. So first step that Raytheon does is we capture information globally. Open source intelligence information, structured data feeds from government agencies, from news services. Pulling all that in together is first step, and it's a pretty big step. Imagine how many events occur globally on a daily basis. Once we capture that, we bring structure and form to the void of data that's out there. Everything is now in a structured database that we can use in many different ways, knowing all that disaster information on a daily basis. So you then capture all this information, then what do you do with it? Well, upload all your 10,000 vendor locations, upload all your offices around the world, and the system automatically will geolocate the event and your location. So now you know my office in Shanghai just got a power outage. Once you capture this information, well, what do you do about it? Well, you just told me I just lost power. We have to manage the risk at this point. So we get alerts, customized alerts about what's going on. Trouble ticks are generated. You can track every step of that crisis. You want to plan it, design your crisis management plans. You want to respond, have your folks now use our application to manage every step of that process. And really, it's mitigating a crisis around the world. So customized alerts, automating the whole process, and solving the problem at the end of the day, tracking every step of that disaster within one application. You, your vendors, your customers, your partners, you name it, can all use the Raisin application to make sure you are recovering more quickly, reducing your downtime. And we're extending the capabilities of Raisin into the mobile space. So as you walk around the world, you can have the Raisin mobile app on your phone today, and it's free if you want to download it. You can play with our data. And it'll be a platform for extending the capabilities to really manage on the go as you're sending your managers around the world to deal with these crises. So we're going to market through a direct model, first of all, and it is a $7 billion and growing supply chain risk management vertical. We are building out the channel strategy and a partnership strategy. Let's utilize supply chain consulting companies that are already in with the big boys and have them use our product to help them sell something new, something called risk management in the supply chain. And license the data. We've got a fantastic database. How else can you use this? Take our web service that we already built for the phone and port it into your app. Maybe you think our interface looks pretty ugly. Well, design your own and just take our data. So we see competition as more of an opportunity here. There are companies, Ariba, Kinaxis, D&B. What do? They're in supply chain. They're in vendor management. Are they in risk management? We can give them a new view on risk, have them sell something else, have them partner with us. One example is Kinaxis is a big supply chain company, consulting company, and risk company, but they came to us to OEM our data into their portal because they don't have it today. And we thought they'd be a big competitor. Now they can be a great partner. So our real competition is the management stuff, the emails that you receive. Oh, my factory just blew up. I need an alternate site now. Well, here's a Word doc. Here's a spreadsheet. Here's our processes, all manual. Let's eliminate that. Let's eliminate going to CNN to figure out what's going on around the world and how you should respond. So we demoed for some pretty good companies. And we built the functionality based on their feedback through our beta process over the past year. And we're now launched publicly. PwC, again, the consulting model, there's a partner model there. Brings lots of different industries we can go after. Revenue, it is a monthly subscription model. So, for example, 300 sites could be $2,000 a month. And we can license that data as well for another revenue stream. The core team, I've sold one company so far, Foundstone, to McAfee for $86 million in 2004. And our team has got experience in different industries, big data, small data, operational capabilities. And we've got a great board of advisors that has helped us really develop this strategy. Thank you.
So looking at this, one of the things that I'm curious about, because it's not an industry I'm super familiar with, is are there other databases of this information right now? Who are the people who are existing in the market besides CNN and Google Alerts?
So the closest folks are NC4 and Global Incident Map and iJet. So you got a couple companies that are collecting data. So there's very few of them, so it's a great space to be in, even though some guys are in the space already. What they don't do is complete that whole model. Okay, great. Like NC4 is a great CNN competitor, but they just broadcast information anyway. Well, how does that help me track down 10,000 locations on a daily basis? So that's where we've sort of closed the loop and added extra value.
And how do those, what is their revenue model of these other competitors or existing players? I'm just curious.
It's the same thing, a managed subscription model. Monthly, you're paying these guys for data.
In terms of, you're pitching it as a supply chain management tool, which I can certainly see it is. Do you not think it's more of a COO type tool, as in it's more of an operational risk rather than just a supply chain risk? Or?
Absolutely. And we've been asked by several different companies, could you do this? One is going to commodities guys, going to insurance. Insurance is a very easy to grasp opportunity for us. So we wanted to vet the model with supply chain because it's a really simple problem. If the factory can't ship your iPhone, you're not getting a product. You're losing money. So that's a huge gap, and the supply chain guys are still way behind on technology. So once we prove it out, once we get some good traction, then we can go into insurance. What else can we do? We can do country risk. We can generate analyst reports on here's the riskiest place to build your factory, or here's the riskiest place to go based on 50 shootings every single day in X part of the world. So there's a lot of other opportunities to repackage, repurpose the data we're collecting.
Certainly looking at your revenue forecast, they seem very, very modest for what, what it could be. And I'm just wondering what did you base those projections on, or do you actually think, that they're on the low side, on the high? Like, what do you
I think we definitely went on the low side, and I'm going back to my experience with my first company, Founso, and how we did it, right? We built software, we sold it as a managed service as well, and I saw the ramp up of how we did that. Today, I think it's much easier. It's cheaper to build, so we can definitely have a lot of savings. It's faster to build. We can deploy much more quickly. So I'm basing on my past experience.
And final question from me: who do you see as, ultimately the primary consumer? Do you think it's going to be your own applications, or do you think it's going to be Rayzient as a platform that ends up being the thing that drives your success?
We're actually calling the platform as a service versus really software as a service, because we can be the underlying sort of data component of 100 or 1,000 mobile apps. You want to build a travel app, you want to build an insurance app, hey, just take our data and port it into your application. I'd rather license out the data than go and sell all these big enterprise customers. That's a long sales cycle. Buy the license and we're done.
Got it. Yeah, no further questions. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So, Gary, you mentioned we can play with it.
Yeah, you can download it, and it's free on the app side.
Okay.
We don't have Android though. Sorry about that.
And that'll tell us where to go on vacation or not to go on vacation. Is that correct?
Vacation.
You heard that, right? Make sure you check on that. That's very, very important. Next we have on page 31, predict gaze. So they're going to come up, and I believe it's Sharon. Is that correct? Absolutely. So the interesting part is I looked at their product before this, and it's something actually we have a little game company called Coma Blue that we're playing with, and I actually could have used this technology early on, and we would have been successful, and we would have put Zynga out of business. But because your technology wasn't ready, Zynga launched, and we're still struggling. So with that, please take over.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Saurabh Kumar with Predict Gaze, and today I'm going to talk about how you can leverage the front camera of your smart device in a much better and a different way than you are already using. So if I ask you a very simple question, how many of you have iPhone today here? And all of you have like front camera in the front. What are you using it for generally? FaceTime? Yeah, that's what I'm also using most of the time, or doing video conferencing. And apart from that, maybe sometimes we take picture and share it. That's all. And that camera has been sitting down on that phone, on any smart device, for like 2-3 years now, and nobody has thought about any other technology. So what we did is, like for past 5 months, we have been working on in-house technology that can leverage this camera in a much different way. And last month, we came at the Mega Startup Weekend, and what we built was a mobile application for market research company and video advertisement people who can gather information about when users are watching a certain video ad, what are their reaction when they are watching, when they are not watching. And we are going to demo you that application first, and where this is a Volkswagen video commercial that came during the Super Bowl game. So Akash will try to watch it on iPhone, and same thing, and Abhilek will show you the video that he's watching right now. So we took out a very small sample from the whole video, and this is what is happening. And Akash will be engaging, disengaging, and he would be like smiling, I mean, as you would do when you are watching some video, and sometimes someone calls and you just look away and something. So this is like the earlier data right now, and when he will be done watching, so he's done. So the analytics page will pull up his right now, whatever he did. So you can see like during certain event, he disengaged, so the view is going down, and again he started engaging, it went up. And right now, maybe the way, I don't know if he smiled or not, so if he would have smiled properly, there would be some event over there and showing that there's a smile. And which is like most of the time, like you hate ads, you don't like ads, and nobody has like all these kind of edits. This is more about when showing percentage, when they engaged and when they're not engaged. And we have another profile where they give you timestamped information about all these frames. This is a video heat map of where he was paying attention, but this is more like we did 20 people survey where we asked them to watch, and we have this technology where we can know within certain passively like where they are gauging within the screen. So right now, is it playing? Right now that was that during the whole video when somebody is doing it. So, I mean, that was cool. I mean, we use the camera to watch people, but me being watched all the time, I won't want to do that. I mean, that's not a very good market strategy for us to go forward. So we looked at another market that was there, and we said, can we do something with mobile games? I mean, there are many mobile games out there. So we tried to classify, okay, what mobile game categories are. So one was like Fruit Ninja kind of game where you have touch and you have swipe. And you have Angry Birds kind of game, like where you have touch and you pull and something blows up. And then there's like another kind of game where you use tilt sensor of your phone to basically move your character left and right. So we talked to GoGoMongo, who is like 6th rank on the App Store right now. And they have this game for kids, and you basically tilt your phone and there are like apples falling from the sky, and this monster picks it up, and there are like oranges coming up, and you do it multiple times, and the baby learns, or the kid learn how names of these characters. We integrated our technology within 2 to 5 days, and this becomes now turn your head to play. And this could be anything, gate somewhere, and the monster kind of like follows your gate. So it improves the motor skill and everything of the baby. So we'll try to demo you what the game was earlier. Okay, so it's like in vertical, you just need to imagine like maybe tilt your hella.
Turn sideways, please.
Yeah. Can you show so that happens. Now I'll show you a new game that we wrote in like just 3 days. We just put our SDK. Now it's like turn your head to play, probably. Should be. So as you can see, he's like moving left, right, and this is following what he's doing right now. And all in real time. So all the processing happens on the phone, and the monk kind of jumps around and gets apples. So, okay, we got enough apples.
Oh no, he's going to drop the apple.
With this, I just wanted to say that, I mean, we built this technology. I mean, this SDK right now is capable of giving you head motion, gaze where you want to, where you are watching within the screen, smile, and all these. So if you're happy, you can get all these kind of. So we wrote this thing in SDK. We are giving it for mobile developers who want to integrate this in their application and use directly these information to control the way people are playing. And we are always having our technology in the passive mode where we know what users are doing. So we can always complement the metric that other ad people, publishers are having in terms of like click-through. So we can complement that by saying, did somebody pay attention to your ad? If they did, where did they pay, and all that kind of thing. And just to mention, I know that people freaks out when the camera goes on. We don't take any of the face data and send it to our server. Everything happens within the device in real time, because otherwise it won't be possible for us to send the video stream and get the data. So with that, I'm Saurav Kumar again, and with the Predict Gate, and I'm open to questions from everywhere.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So I admit to having a slight leg up because I was actually at Mega Startup Weekend, and I was on the panel that was judging you. So I've seen this before, but it was impressive then, and it's impressive now.
How much did they pay you, Chris?
Well, hopefully they'll be giving me a free copy of their games.
It's free. It's going to be downloading. You can download it for free. It's going to be out in App Store soon.
Excellent. So I guess my big question is, and I think at Mega Startup Weekend I said the same thing, which is, this is one of those really cool, magical technologies that falls into the category of a solution looking for a problem. And it sounds like the current problem that you're focused on is the gaming market, which is certainly a big market. What are some of these other ones? I see you have a list of alternate customers and the like. What are you doing in terms of Steve Blank customer development to figure out which of these problems you should be solving?
So when I met you at the start of the week, we were focusing on market research company, and then I followed actually that first step, Tiffany, and we were talking to Procter & Gamble and all these people. We found that they really have this need of this technology. I mean, it's something that they require, but the market to enter that thing was very, even the barrier is high. And they're going to pay all this for this data. There is no issue in that thing. So we started looking for what are other applications. And then when I met people like Google Mongo developers, they were really interested in using it for games. So we were like, okay, why not? Let's test this out. And when we did this, we can still get the same analytics out, which we are already printing out for the other people. We can just give it to the advertisers who are publishing on that thing. So that's B, gaming. And C is we are talking to a director from IMDb who has a video and product review for trailers for his movies on IMDb. So we are testing our gaze control and the emotion thing for his product trailers. So if that could be another film industry could just license this out into their the focus group, and they can have it like this.
Great. You can see certainly another market there, and the whole idea of e-learning, where you're going through tests or whatever, but there's no verification that you're actually paying any attention to what's going on. I can think of a certain instance in our household where somebody was doing a driver ed course online after a certain instance, and there was absolutely no attention being paid to what's been on the page, except for the odd click every now and again where it says click. And this would be phenomenal in terms of actually making people pay attention to what's actually going on.
Are you sure you want them to apply that to traffic?
That certain driver has learned the lesson and won't be doing that again. So.
And you can also take this technology in like driving assistance system. So if you're driving, we know that when you're blinking and you might fall off to sleep or something. So we were talking to another driving assistant company would be interested in seeing if this is possible, because this runs on a very small computation power chip. So it could be something that would be interesting. So.
One last note, just because you mentioned you're exploring theory direct competitors, I think now that you're moving into the gaming space, there is one I can think of. There's a company called Active Theory that was part of Rock Health that basically does exercise games where it tracks your head motion to sort of move you through a course or something like that. So they would be somebody who would be sort of a competitor, and you might look at what they've done for inspiration
so we looked at, so that was sometime also, we looked at build a comprehensive list of our competitor. Okay. So some of the competitors who have similar kind of technology, they mostly have some kind of hardware associated with their software to track people movement, something like Connect, so that it sees you. But when you come onto a smartphone with a VGA camera with lots of motion, that things become a lot challenging. People have tried doing face detection and all this thing for a long time, but trying to do it on a smartphone natively is the challenge that we are solving, and that's where our patent is about.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so your challenge, you're all investors, and you have to decide which of those 5 companies would you personally put your 401k, your IRA, all your last dollars into. So if you could please pick one of those 5 companies, circle it, and then hand it to, there's people at the door, they're going to take it. And then with that, I also really like to thank, let's thank David and Chris. Great job. And thank you very much for coming. You have a 15-minute break, and they're starting again at 3:45. So thank you very much.